So without further ado, let us go back to the Zoom machine and say hello to the reigning defending UFC bantamweight champion, the Funk Master himself, Aljamain Sterling. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Live from the set of his show, Weekly Scraps.
Georgia, baby.
Is it Weekly Scraps? That's the name, right?
Weekly Scraps.
There it is.
Yes, it is.
You got that in Georgia?
Yeah, I got this from Georgia. I forgot the name of it, but it's from the village Swanetti.
Look at that.
And they call me the Swanee man, Sterliani.
I like it.
Sterliani, the Swanee man.
We had your boy Merab on the show on Monday. What a win! What a performance by him. He was in there on Saturday. You were in his corner as well. Nice to see Matt back in the corner too.
That was really good, right?
Yeah. Does that mean he's out of retirement?
Honestly, I have no idea. So
Come on.
It really depends. It depends. I don't know. It depends. Maybe just the location of the fight. You know, Vegas is always going to be a good time. So I think that was a pretty easy decision. And obviously, Merab is such a good dude. I'm pretty sure Merab probably asked him multiple times and was able to convince him to come back out, you know?
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the team or to the team on that victory. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we're not here to talk about the Merab win, although I'm sure you would love to glow about that victory. What a great comeback win it was for him. We heard some, and by the way, I'm going to promise not to swear this time. You know, last time we made a lot of news with my F-bomb. I'm going to keep it down the middle here this time, Aljo, and I appreciate that back and forth very much that we had last time. But this time we're here to talk about your neck. And I remember when you were on the show last time, a couple weeks ago, if you kind of read between the lines, it seemed like you weren't feeling 100% about this date, October 30th. So tell us what happened. Why can't you fight on October 30th?
You know, I'm always very transparent when it comes to the fans, and I like to be very open as much as I can be without, you know, revealing too much of my personal life. But I think with a sport like this, it's about the entertainment. And I think that's the reason why I even have the fan base that I do have, is because people like that I'm genuine, I'm real, and I keep it a buck all the time, you know? So with that, I spoke openly about it, like, hey, man. And I even talked to my coaches, and I spoke to some of my housemates who also fight. And I told them, like, yo, honestly, the way this training camp has been going, I'm probably just going to lose weight and go out there and just wing it again and see what the fuck happens. That's honestly how I felt. Cause I was like, I'm struggling to get through 2 rounds. And then to get to the 3rd round, I'm pretty much throwing 0 punches because my arms are just so fatigued that I just can't even get through anything. Like, my legs were fine. Lungs felt okay. Like, I felt like I was doing all the cardio work, but then anytime I would have a hard week, I have a sparring session. Of course, I'm sparring with Merab, so that's a pretty high rubric to use. But even so, like, we've sparred multiple times for years and nothing's ever changed. I think it's just the fact that I had such a big surgery and it's been such a long time that the nerves were pressed, and the atrophy that I had. Just so people have a better idea of the timeline, when I got cleared to start training 3 months after, and to go full. So it was April 15th, I had the surgery. So May 15th, June 15th, July 15th. I just got back from Georgia, and I was like, let me give myself at least another week, even though I know that I got this fight on the horizon. Let me give myself another week before we start really, really hitting it. As soon as we got back, man, I had my first day training. I hurt my shoulder.
Damn.
Doing jiu-jitsu. I posted on the ground, hurt my shoulder.
Do you think, a quick timeout, do you think that was as a result of the neck or totally coincidental?
I don't know.
Okay.
I went down to the PI recently, and I had them look at it, and they couldn't figure out what it was either. And nothing was torn, but the shoulder was very lax, like it was coming out the socket, but not like it's the same shoulder that I had the surgery on. So between the shoulder and the neck, there's just so much going on with the human body, you know. And I've competed like this for a very, very long time. So for me to have gotten to where I've gotten to and have to have dealt with all those things, I think it's just the culmination of all the time just accumulated. And it was just like, yo, you need to let the nerves do its thing and kind of heal up and get back to a normal baseline for where you were before, and hopefully progress better in that, in terms of now you have the surgery. Now there's no more pinching of the nerves. There's no more radiating pain down to my fingertips. There's just the fatigue, you know? So I spoke to the doctor, and he said it's normal for that to happen. And he said 12 to 18 months is typically when someone comes back from surgery. And especially not even like, cause it's not like football. Like, people get the surgery for football, but it's different. It's not like the endurance where you have to be able to go like MMA. It's a different type of explosiveness. It's a different type of endurance. When you're squeezing and then going to punches, you're doing these short bursts for football and things like that. So it's a very different dynamic in terms of what you got to do to prepare to compete. And I think that's the big difference, where for me, they were optimistic of how fast my strength came back, where I was in June. And he was like, yeah, I think you'd be good to possibly fight after November 1st. And then we were booked for October 30th. I was like, okay, I think we could try to make this work. I originally wanted December because I thought it would have made sense to give myself a little bit more time and still be able to get one more fight in before the end of the year. And sure enough, things weren't going the way I thought it was going to go. Like I said, man, I know Merab is a hard rubric to use, but I've done this with him before for the last 2 training camps with Pedion. The first fight that he pulled out of, that people keep forgetting he pulled out or keep saying his visa issues. He said he had his visas taken care of. So for you folks who keep saying that stupid shit, he had his visas taken care of. He pulled out a fight with no injury. So for me to actually pull out of a fight with actually medical clearance that I'm not ready and fit to actually do 5 rounds, I think that's a pretty good logical reason to not want to be paralyzed in the octagon. I'm not looking to be the first person to win a belt by DQ and the first guy to be in the octagon and be paralyzed in the cage.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that if I think my health is more important and the longevity of me living in my body, my capsule for the rest of my life is more important than proving some stupid beef, who's the better fighter when I'm not even at 100% yet, So Jan can say whatever he wants. He can talk all the shit he wants. He posted some shit with me and my fiance. I don't know if he thought it was trying to be funny, saying like, oh, he's got a new job now. Instead of fighting, he's doing this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing activities with my fiance. Good job. Thank you for sending me a picture of my fiance and I, trying to make a joke, posting it on social media, thinking that I don't know what he thought it was. If it was like me out partying or some shit. I'm like, I'm out with my lady. I'm out with my lady. Do I post pictures of you and your lady saying you pulled out of the fight? Do I post pictures of you and your kids saying you pulled out of the fight? So it's like, what are we doing? I don't know if he didn't know that was my fiance. I'm pretty sure he knows what my fiance looks like. So it's not, but that's a whole nother topic. I just think the guy's a piece of shit. That's just my personal opinion of the guy. And I just really can't wait to get back in there and smack the fuck out of him. I want to fight him, but there's going to be a point in the fight where I'm telling you, I'm just going to slap the fuck out of him. I'm just going to slap the shit out of him.
I have to say there was a part of me that was a little relieved that, this news came through, because when I talked to you, I felt like you weren't 100% about it. And to your point, it's a neck, and a very bad thing could happen if your neck isn't 100%. And we've never seen that type of injury in the UFC. And I don't think anyone wants to see that type of injury. And so at what point did you start to feel like this isn't going to work out? October 30th is just too soon.
Man, a couple of weeks ago, maybe even when we spoke, and I just knew like usually around that time, the endurance just wasn't coming back to me. I was fatiguing doing pull-ups. Not that I couldn't do pull-ups. I was doing pull-ups where I do my static holds and part of my strength and conditioning, which gives me the squeezing endurance that I have been having over my entire career since college wrestling, where I hold the bar 1 minute straight or a little bit longer, and I'll do 3 levels, 20 seconds up top, half release, and then not all the way extended, but slightly bent, so I could get like all different levels of the pull, and I could only hold it for like 15, 20 seconds. I was like, yo, something's wrong, man. And this is after an off day, I would spar and I would do all these resistance exercises to be ready for the next sparring session. And then I'll go spar. After 1 round of throwing punches, the next round, I could barely keep my arms up. And obviously getting punched in the face in sparring that many times, it could be a little deflating in terms of knowing where you were and knowing where you're at now. It mentally kind of fucks you up, man. It really does, especially knowing that you got a fight on the horizon and you're wondering if you're doing yourself a disservice by showing up and trying to perform for the fans and not giving them another good show. For me to give them 2 bad shows in a row would just be on me at that point. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure the fans get their money's worth, and I want to make sure they get the actual fight performance that they deserve to see who's really the best, not some shelf someone and saying, oh, that's not the guy that we paid to see, So a couple of weeks ago, I kind of had a feeling like this is, like I said, I talked to my roommates and I told them like, I'm just going to go in there and just try to wing it and see if I can maybe fight a little bit more conservatively and try to see if maybe I can get a takedown and maybe pull off a Hail Mary. And my roommate, Steve, just goes like, why would you do that? I'm like, well, you've seen the training session. He's like, yeah, I know, but you don't think maybe we still got 5 weeks, because 5.5 weeks, you still think we could try to figure this out. This was actually 6.5 weeks. Cause this was, almost a week and a half ago. So I go, yeah, we can try, but we can see that I'm not getting any type of progression, no matter how much work I do during the week and trying to build. It's just, I'm at the same baseline level where if I took off a couple of days, and I don't know, I do think the overtraining, as soon as I got cleared, I was just hitting the ground running, redlining. I didn't build a foundation. I didn't do anything. I just started going like, hey, we got to fight. We got to go. And that's it. So part of it, I think, is a little bit of overtraining. Part of it, I think, is still a little bit of the recovery process, because I took off 3-4 days last week during Merab's fight week. And this week has actually been the best that I've ever felt physically. Like, in terms of, actually, we did a boxing sparring session last night. I got Adrian Yannis out here from Texas, another hot prospect at the bantamweight division. And the kid's fucking good, by the way. Kid's fucking good. And but other than that, that was the best I felt, where after the first and second round, I'm not sitting on the floor, taking off my gloves, trying to stretch my arms out, because I just can't hold the gloves on my arms and keep them on in between the break rounds, So as that's the guy that people want to see step into the octagon, then you can go fuck yourself. That's one. And two, for the people that actually do care, that, want to make sure that I'm actually doing the right thing. This was a very hard decision, because I don't pull out of fights. I pulled out of one fight with Michigan Young, and my manager advised it. I hurt my wrist. And then the very next week, my wrist was better. And I was hoping that this wasn't going to be the case, so I'm still not there yet, but I think the extra time will allow me to get to where I need to be. And it will make me feel a lot more comfortable knowing that I could push the 5 rounds again, where the last few training camps, I would spar with 2 or 3 different training partners and get through those rounds and still look fresh in the 5th round, so that's where I want to be, because that's the cardio type of level that we have over here in terms of our team, so I just think now is not the right time. I asked for December, and possibly this fight being a war, we could possibly not fight till January, February. If this fight's quick, I think Sandman has a really good chance of smoking Jan. I really do. I think one guy's super flat-footed, the other guy's very dynamic and can end the fight at any given second. In Corey Sandhagen. So if he gets a quick finish, I think we could possibly turn it around and end up fighting and doing the rematch in December.
Wow. Okay, I was going to ask you about the fight. But there's some of your insight. And of course, you have the win over Corey Sandhagen back in June of last year. Yes, Funk Jitsu represent. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the UFC doctor was the one who didn't clear you ultimately, Dr. Davidson. Is that accurate?
Well, my surgeon, that's one. He consults with the UFC doctor, and then they go from there, and he gives him the diagnosis of what he sees from his professional viewpoint. And he tested my strength. This is one test where you put your arm straight down, and he manually tries to break your arm and pull it in. And you're supposed to be able to keep your arm firm. I'm still having some cramping in both triceps. The left one's where most of the damage was from the neck injury. So he still knows that there's a little bit of weakness. He said the strength is definitely almost all the way back, but there's still some weakness. And you could tell that the nerves are still trying to, I don't want to use the wrong term, but regenerate or heal or come back together kind of thing, just from all the trauma that happened with the surgery and all the years of it being pressed on. Okay.
And so ultimately, when was the call made to move on and not have you in this fight? Was it on Saturday?
It was last week, Wednesday. I saw the doctor in LA, and then I spoke to Dr. Davis, the UFC doctor. I don't know if I should be saying his name or not, but I spoke to the UFC doctor, and I told him, I was like, give me one more day. Let me see if it was the overtraining that was killing me. I had my best sparring session the very next day, where I actually, like I said, I didn't fall over, and that was at Syndicate MMA. I went one of the guys, Shane Shapiro, amateur fighter. I don't think he made his pro debut yet, but he's very good. Just starting his training camp. So it wasn't like I was going with Merab, who's peaking. I was going with a guy who's kind of like around the same conditioning level that I was at, so I could get an honest opinion of where I am. And even going through that, I was like, yeah, I definitely had a better day. I didn't collapse after doing the 3 rounds where I'm laying on my back and trying to rip the gloves off so I could try to shake my arms out. But I was still pretty tired, where I should not be like that with 5.5 weeks out from a fight, So I asked Dr. Davidson for that chance to try to save the fight and keep it together. And just based on that, I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna be able to get my body right to do 5 rounds, a possible 5 rounds with Pedion, you know? So, he's a tough dude. Like, I always give the fighters respect, my opponents respect. I just think when you're phony about like how you feel about your opponent, I think it gets a little weird when he's like trying to apologize for throwing an intentional knee and then trying to tell me that I'm fake and I faked the injury of the knee when you blasted me in the head after being told by the ref not to do it, and now your other corner telling you to do it. Like, this whole thing, Ariel, could have been avoided. I just hope the fans understand that. The reasonable fans with the brain actually understand that this was all because of Peter Yan, that this division is now in this situation. It's because of him. He could have won the fight. He was on his way of dominating. He started to pull away. He was beating my ass all 4th round. I still landed 2 head kicks right before I shot in, and then he kneed me in the head. But he was beating my ass. That's a fact, you know? But this is all his fault because he's that stupid, you know? You want a champ that doesn't know the rules and does illegal, tries to get away with sly, dirty shit. I mean, to each his own, you know? But this is all on him. He's the reason we're in this situation to begin with. You know, we could have been going on. I could have been still recovering, doing my own thing, not having clown emojis on my page because I'm healing from a surgery, and things would have been normal, you know, regular, or I don't even know. Can you call that normal? Whatever. Things would have been different, you know, but this guy did this. He caused this. This is not my doing. This is what he did. I'm sorry that he didn't abide by the rules. I'm sorry that he's a fucking moron. That's really what this comes down to, you know? So
has there been any
at the end of the day, I make out from this, you know, I get paid more. I now get the pay-per-view points and whatever. So in hindsight, do I want to win the belt like that? Hell fucking no. But at the end of the day, I end up actually doing better than I would have, you know? So I get an opportunity I almost feel like God is giving me a second opportunity, knowing how hard I work. I'm telling you, when you see the demon type of work I put in for those last 2 training camps with my neck still like that, I feel like God kind of gave me a second chance at like, yo, we're going to give you another opportunity to do this the right way and really prove everyone that you really did deserve to be here. You fought Corey Sandhagen, who was the highest ranked guy. That should have been for the title. Now we're going to give you an opportunity to beat Peter Yan and do it the right way this time when you're actually feeling good and we can see who is the real better man. And that's all I care about. I don't care about if he beats me or not. I never care about the wins or losses. I care about the performance. And if I perform good, that usually results in a W. So that's the type of mindset that I have. So if people can't respect that, it is what it is. You've never been probably never been an athlete, or probably never been an athlete at the highest level. So I think anyone with who's been through the grind, whether it's their field of work, whether it's an athlete and they know what it feels like to put work in and day out to get to where you want to be, that's a special accomplishment, and no one can ever take that away from me.
I'm sure you've seen people say that you should be stripped. Was there any talk of stripping you?
No, I spoke to the matchmakers about that because I was actually concerned about that, and not even concerned about the belt. I was concerned that I would get passed up in, like I said before, even after the fight, was I didn't want to get passed up in an opportunity to get the challenge for the belt again. And that's all it comes down to for me. Because again, I feel like I just won an opportunity. And even though I did get an opportunity, I blew it. I fucked up. I decided to eat 2 pancakes and 2 eggs the day of the fight and not eat from 10:30 to 8 o'clock at night when I fought, where I went from a 10:30 a.m. window to 8:30 p.m. where I fought and I didn't eat. That's on me. 2 pancakes, 2 eggs after doing a 20-minute hard workout. That's the most idiotic thing I could have ever done in my life. And as a veteran, I'm ashamed to even know that I've made such a rookie mistake. So I had the opportunity. I blew it, but I feel like the stars aligned and, even though it was a foul, I get another chance to do it the right way, and that's all I could care about, So when I'm on, man, you guys see Merab, this guy, that's who I'm training with. That's who I'm working with. I do think we have 2 of the best guys in the world in under one gym, under one roof, so I push him, he pushes me. I know my cardio's on point. I know I'm helping him with the technical side of with the wrestling, keeping the control and things like that. Ying, one hand washes the other. I didn't get here by accident. We grinded. We put work in. I earned my spot. Merab earned his spot. Anyone in the UFC who got to the UFC, we didn't get handouts, So if anyone who wants to disrespect us and say the shit that they want to say because we're looking out for our health for the first time in my career, I'm actually looking out for my health, where it's not just I stubbed my toe. I actually have a disc, a metal freaking object in my neck, where if it dislodges, it hits my spinal cord and that's it. And that's something that people are okay with me taking that risk. I mean, if that makes you sleep better at night, if you feel like, oh, you're such a warrior, kudos to you, man. I'll clap it up for you because you're so tough and you're such a badass. Such a badass.
Speaking of that, any concern at all right now that you may never fight again, that it just doesn't heal and it's too risky for you to fight?
If I'm being honest, I have had those thoughts, and I before I took the days off, I was like, I'm just wondering if this is just it. If I'm never going to be able to actually push past this, and it was a very scary thing. But then I was trying to keep the optimism because the doctor said it usually takes 12 months to 18 months for everything to really get back to where it can be, and everyone is different. He thinks I healed really fast just on the strength standpoint, but obviously the other parts are still doing this thing where it's not firing the right way. And I think it's just going to come back with time. And I think me actually taking those days off. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, I was concerned with potentially having a career ending surgery. And it would have been very unfortunate to go out like that, because I'm a very prideful man based on the things that I've done. Because I take good pride. And I think everyone should be like this. Take pride in the things that they've earned. You don't need to boast about it, but I think to take pride in the things that you've earned for yourself is something you can always look back on and be like, man, I did that. I put the work in. I did that. That's me who went out there and accomplished that because of the things I did behind the scenes that no one's seen. People didn't see the late nights. People didn't see the early mornings. They didn't see none of those sessions when you're coming in by yourself and doing in the extra work, So, it would have been very unfortunate to have my career ended short like that. And I'm more optimistic about it that I will be able to get back to competition and compete at a high level still. I'm still competing in the room. Like I said, I'm just getting tired, overly tired. Like 5.5 weeks, it's just not enough time for me to properly prepare and probably not even probably lose the weight. I was coming down from 170. I'm finally keeping my body under 160. This morning is 156.6. This is the best physical shape I've been in, feeling like, like muscle bound. But like I said, I'm strong. But the other part of it is what actually matters. You can have all the muscles in the world. If you can't go longer than 2 minutes, I don't give a shit, So I could look like all the action figure in the world, G.I. Joe. But if I can't compete for 25 minutes, what's the point?
So when you say typically it's 12 to 18 months, you had the surgery in April. That would mean April 2022 to October 2022. Is that when we're going to see you? Because then you said December.
No. I asked for December,
but that's not 18. That's not even 12 months. That's like 8 months.
That's like eight months. Yeah,
that's enough time.
I think so. Like I said, when I took the days off and then I did the training session the next day, I felt way better. I felt like, okay, this is actually a good baseline where I can work off of this, So if things keep progressing like that, I'm actually going back to the PI this Sunday or Monday, depending. I got to spend some quality time with the fiance.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I know you guys feel me on that one.
I feel you.
So I got to go out and I told them I'll be back doing some strength and conditioning with them, doing my more PT work, stabilizing the shoulder and really focusing on getting everything right. Because like I said, I left Vegas to come back home to get ready for a fight. So I cut my PT short. So I do think that all kind of plays a hand with each other, So is you don't know what's going to happen with the human body. I can sit here and say, yeah, I'll be ready by December and maybe I'm not. But I truly do believe just me taking those days off made a tremendous impact on where I was able to go physically. And then for where I was last night sparring, we're going to spar again tomorrow. And then I'm going to do one more session with Giannis on Saturday. And I'll be able to really get a better gauge on where I am in a physical standpoint, So that's what it all comes down to for me. And I think that's given me a lot more hope in knowing that I can come back to the sport and return and actually do things the way I used to without the 12 to 18 months, Okay. I don't think it's going to be that long. And we spoke to the UFC. They say it's usually after a year when things start to get like really crazy. I mean, you've seen injuries in the past where guys were out for years before they created an interim title, So for me, I'm hoping that's not the case. I don't think that is going to be the case. To ask for me to be stripped because you're angry that your fighter is a dope. That's I don't know. That kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I actually was in the process of posting a troll picture.
Oh no.
Because I like to troll. I like to get under the people's skins.
What do you got?
I know you like my trolling, Ariel.
Yes. What do you got? What do you got? I'll tell you if it's a good picture or not.
It's gonna ruffle some feathers.
Oh, what is it?
But
Maybe
it's all.
What is it, Aljo? What is it? Tell us. Give us the sneak peek.
We're gonna get back in the octagon and we're gonna fight. That's at the end of the day, people gotta realize that no matter what is said on the outside, you gotta answer for your words, and that's the beautiful thing about this sport.
It is.
So Jan can say whatever he wants. Sandhagen can say all the shit he wants. I can say all the shit I want. We're gonna have to step back in there with each other and figure it out.
Okay, but here's the thing: you implied that you think Sandhagen might win. Is there a part of you, considering your feelings towards Jan and the history, who's rooting for Jan to win this fight so that you can set? Because if Jan loses, I mean, who knows when we get this rematch? Because then you're probably gonna have to fight Sandhagen next.
Yeah, it's so the way I feel about it is more. I saw Corey Sandhagen at UFC 266 in Vegas, and we spoke after the fights. And like I said, I'm a very honest man. And I told him, I was like, I feel like I asked him if he was taking the fight. He said yes. I said, good luck. And I said, I know you're going to smoke him. And I said, the only thing about this that annoys me is that you're going to be the first one to do it. And that bothers me. I was like, because I know I can beat this guy. And I said it just like that to his face. You can ask him just like that, because I know how good Corey is. I know how good Jan is, but it's just stylistic matchups. Yeah. I know when I'm on my toes and moving, doing the same shit Corey's doing, but adding in the wrestling and taking you down, that third of that takedown and constantly being on your back and potentially getting submitted or getting ground and pounded, it's a real threat. And Corey Sandhagen being able to pick you apart from the outside while you're flat-footed trying to throw these 1-2s down the middle and you're trying to do this peekaboo shell shit and the guy's longer and he's touching you up from the outside. That's a hard fight. Jan's going to have to land something big over and over to win that fight. And I really think Sandhagen's a smarter fighter. What's Jan going to do? Try to wrestle him? What I heard people saying is, Jan was able to wrestle fuck Sterling, so he's going to be able to do the same thing to Corey. I'm like, if you're using that fight with myself and Jan as a rubric to see where Peter Jan's wrestling is at, you are so far off that it's not even comparable. If you think anyone could kick my ankle and I just fall on my butt like that and do a freaking turtle dance on my butt like I'm breakdancing, like I said, that was the worst performance of my life, the worst way I felt going into a fight. And again, if you think that's a real assessment of my wrestling abilities, you don't know shit about what you're watching. And if you think all the other wrestling exchanges that Peter Yan has that's what trumps that, you don't know the sport. You don't know what you're watching. And just because of that, you guys are going to see that he's going to try to do that to Corey Sandhagen and see that it's not that very easy. Same thing TJ Dillashaw tried to do. Not very easy. Right. You got to have a certain type of strength. You got to have a certain type of endurance, and you got to have a certain type of skill set in order to do stuff like that, And I'm not saying like I'm the best guy, but best guy in the world type of thing. But I know that I'm comfortable in my own skin and what I'm able to do when I'm on. When I'm on, man, look at my performances. They speak for themselves, So, yeah, I would like to fight Peter Yan again. Whether or not he loses this fight, that's on him. He's got to be able to put the work in and be able to train for that matchup. He's got 5.5. He had 5.5 weeks notice, so that's more than enough time. He had to know that matchup was going to come sooner rather than later. So I'm pretty sure he's watched Sandman fight. But I told the matchmaker at some point, I don't care what it is, but we're going to have to fight again. No matter what. Before I retire, before he retires, we're fighting again. Simple as that.
Well, I wish you the best, Aljo. I'm sorry this happened. Get well soon. I hope we get to see that fight against Jan. I'd love to see the Sandhagen rematch as well. And I will let that case speak for itself. Thanks, my man. Get well soon. Thanks for doing it.
Peace, guys.
There he is, the Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling, the bantamweight champion. We wish him the best. Unfortunate situation. But I do agree, Sandhagen is going to be a tough matchup for one Petr Yan.